Hey guys, this is Damien with Dame Tech, back with another video. Before discussing and reviewing the 120 FPS performance capabilities of the iPhone 13 Pro Max, I wanted to briefly talk about Catalyst Black for those who are unaware of this game. There is currently no planned global release date, but the game is still in closed beta testing. Catalyst Black is a team-based battleground shooter with various PvP and upcoming PvE modes. For example, Catalyst Black has a 24-player deathmatch, Capture the Flag, 3 vs 3 arena mode, Core Rush, and even a large-scale open-world battle between players for resources and land control. One of the other things I love about this game is customization as it pertains to weaponry, gears, skills, and even primals, which are beasts that you can transform into. Overall, this game has a lot to offer and will cater to many demographics, especially with controller, mouse, and keyboard support for those iPad lovers. Nevertheless, moving on to the main topic for this video, in summary, I'll talk about Apple's ProMotion 120 FPS gaming approach and also show some real-time FPS gameplay while also showing FPS and power consumption averages at the end of this video. Now for the big question. Can the iPhone 13 Pro Max deliver a 120 FPS gaming experience? To be brief, the answer is yes, but there is a clause. Many aren't aware, but Apple's ProMotion 120Hz displays operate quite differently than what many expected. If you check out Apple's developer website, you'll see that no developer can force their ProMotion display to consistently show or stay at a specific refresh rate. In other words, the refresh rate of the ProMotion display behaves differently than a traditional display and simply reacts to how fast you're controlling or touching the display. For example, in this brief test, as you can see, when I'm not touching the screen, the FPS drops down to 60 frames per second. However, once I begin controlling the game and touching the screen in a fast-paced manner, the FPS kicks up to 120 FPS. I tested this several times and even tested for over 3 minutes, and the FPS stayed at 120 FPS when continually being pushed at this fast pace. But again, once I slow things down and play in a stagnant manner, FPS drops between 80 to 100 frames per second. This ProMotion display just reacts to how responsive I am to the game. With that being said, one thing I must note is that the FPS drops have nothing to do with performance, as GPU usage and power consumption averages are super low, which I'll talk about later in this video and is crazy impressive. But again, the FPS reacts to how responsive you are with touch controls in the game, as you can see. Now with all of this out of the way, moving on to the actual FPS gaming test, I will play the game normally to show how the FPS experience will actually look like. No one is going to be playing this game with consistent fast-paced movements or stagnant movement as well. But nevertheless, let's jump into the test, and again, I will be conducting this next test with a more normal touch movement approach to give a more realistic perspective of what the game actually feels like. Definitely check out the end, as I will discuss and show FPS and power consumption averages.
Double kill. Double kill. Double kill. Triple kill. Double kill. Seconds.
Now let's start with the FPS. I average 107 frames per second after playing one match. And again, as we've proven earlier, the iPhone 13 Pro Max is more than capable of running this game at a steady 120 FPS. However, due to the promotion display, you have to continually be moving very fast for the display to actually push the game to 120 frames per second. Therefore, in other words, if I move slow, then FPS matches that touch response speed. After several more tests, I'd say definitely expect around 105 to 110 frames per second average per match when playing Catalyst Black and using this iPhone 13 Pro Max in its promotion display. Now, let's talk about power consumption. This is why I believe this iPhone can run this game at a steady 120 FPS without the dynamic refresh rate. As you can see, at 107 frames per second, this iPhone is only using 2 watts of power, which is absolutely insane. With 2 watts of power, this basically means the device is barely even working or having to try hard, which makes sense because the device never even got warm while playing, and mind you have it plugged in, which typically increases heat, but again, I'm not feeling any type of heat, which is impressive. So, with all of this being said, here are my thoughts. I believe there's definite pros and cons to Apple's approach to their 120Hz display and 120 FPS gaming approach. Let's start with the cons. For the first-person shooter type gamers, they might be at a disadvantage when 120 FPS options start rolling out for many of the shooter type games. Since Apple's promotion display frame rate is dependent on how quick and active you are in touch response, this will natively produce a lower FPS result in comparison to other phones with a 120Hz display panel that can lock onto that specific 120 frame rate regardless of dynamic refresh rate. No gamer is going to be constantly moving controls in a very fast-paced manner, even in a shooter type game. There will be breaks or pauses, therefore, FPS will drop to match touch speed. Now, let's talk about the Pro. I initially wasn't sold on Apple's aggressive promotion display and their approach to 120 FPS gaming. However, after seeing the significantly low power consumption, which I've never seen in a game, along with extremely low thermals, this approach definitely allows for longer gameplay due to less energy usage and extremely better thermals. Hence, on one hand, you get to either experience that steady 120 FPS with the traditional 120Hz display, but do run the risk of your device overheating, throttling, more power consumption, and battery drain. But, on the other hand, you have Apple's approach and their promotion display, and you can experience cooler temperature, lower power consumption, but not a consistent 120 FPS experience due to no one playing a game where they're constantly operating the touch controls in a fast-paced manner. Thus, FPS only matches how fast you're moving in the game. Maybe Apple may tweak and improve their method by allowing developers to keep the 120 FPS locked in for a few seconds before resuming back to that dynamic refresh rate to help gamers when they're camping in a game, hiding, and therefore not actively moving. Taking all of this into consideration, let me know in the comments which method you prefer. Thanks for watching. Please stay tuned for more tests like this, as well as more Catalyst Black content. Please stay safe and see you next time.